Why do some workers around me say that they are losing money by working overtime? I've heard this from a few coworkers and contractors who I work with. Recently, my coworker said he pushed to get 60 hours of work instead of 50. Because he lost money if he only worked 10 hours of OT. He said it was because of how the tax brackets work and that you have to work a certain amount of OT to start making money again. Can someone explain what he is saying here? If it matters for taxes, I work in Wisconsin. Unless the people you work with have low enough pay to partially qualify for government assistance, where slightly higher pay might put them over a threshold and disqualify them. It's just them misunderstanding how tax brackets work. They're confused about how tax brackets work. There's no range where you lose money. When you hit a higher tax bracket, only the money in that bracket gets taxed at a higher rate. Making up some numbers as an example. Let's say $0 $20,000 is 20. And $20,000 $40,000 is taxed at 25. If you make $20,000, you tax as 20 of that. Or $4,000. If you make $20,020, then only the $20 gets taxed at the higher rate. So, $4,000 $20 25 cents 4005. Your friends probably think everything gets taxed at the higher rate, which would come to $5,005. That's not how it works. You should let them know. He doesn't know how taxes work. Because they don't understand how tax withholdings work. Each paycheck has taxes withheld as if that check's size is how much all one's paychecks are. So if it's enough to bump into higher tax bracket, a higher percentage might get withheld. But when filing taxes at end of the year, any overpayments get sorted out and come back in refund. Also, marginal tax brackets only apply to dollars earned over the amount, not entire income. So if $50,000 annual income is cut off for moving to 25 bracket from 20 and one earns $54,000, only that last $4,000 of income gets taxed at 25, not the entire income. Some employer HR systems will withhold a higher rate if a higher than average paycheck. So that's more money that's being withheld by the IRS until the end of the year. Also, there is the potential that extra hours worked could disqualify someone from government assistance, which can be expensive. They are full of shit and don't understand finances or taxes. Don't take any advice from those people about money. If they are getting Section 8, income adjusted housing, SSA disability or food stamps, they could be getting pushed out of receiving benefits. Your coworker is an idiot and does not understand how tax brackets work. He doesn't know how taxes work. That's why he says that. Tax brackets apply only to the money earned within each bracket, not every dollar earned. It's what people say when they don't realize that yes, they were taxed higher, but they also made more money. If I make $10 an hour and pay $1 in taxes, then make $15 an hour and pay $1.50 in taxes, I still made more money. Sometimes employer payroll systems withhold more taxes than they need to cover their ass when you work OT, but it comes out in the wash come tax time. People who says this often understand they aren't losing money, but they know the additional dollars are possibly being taxed at a higher rate than much of the rest of their paycheck once you start making more over a certain annual amount. Each dollar extra is taxed at a higher rate and they want to overstate the issue and complain about it, as people tend to do. The tax part is nonsense. But overtime is definitely undercompensated. Your time is worth more than what that company will ever offer you. We're entering in a new era where employees are being more aware of the fact that they are the supply and it's time to make demands to provide said supply. Your colleagues are bad at math. I see a lot of people commenting here don't know the difference between withheld taxes from your employer versus federal income tax brackets. They are so confident in their misunderstanding as well. They are talking about tax withholding. It is not the same as taxes paid at the end of the year. The simple answer is that people don't understand how tax brackets work. You will never earn less money by moving into a higher tax bracket. You will just end up owing more in taxes. Also, overtime alone doesn't just magically move you into a higher tax bracket. Or for those hours, it's added to your total annual wages. And when those cross over the threshold for the next tax bracket, then you will start getting tax at a higher rate. The tax taken out when I worked 30 hours of overtime per week versus hours much was taken out at 25 was noticeable. I thought this same exact thing when I was like 16 lol. This myth is not easy to eradicate. Not sure why, seems to be lodged in human thinking. Who the hell wants to work 70 hours a week? He's wrong that he loses money, he just has to give a larger proportion of it to the government. Most jobs calculate your pay period deductions based on what that number would be when calculated out to the whole year, even though it won't necessarily reflect your year-end income. If you worked out my yearly salary, it would be about $50,000. But I work seasonal and a lot of overtime. So I'm taxed like I make about $70,000 a year, even though I only work 6-7 months a year and don't make nearly that much. In my personal experience, I've found that over about 8 hours, the immediate payroll return of working more than 8 to 15 hours of OT goes down significantly. Sounds like you should offer to pick up overtime that they don't want and pad your paycheck. Misunderstood income taxing is the reason. Leaving the income depending benefits. You can't technically make less by doing overtime. Quick reading on how tax brackets work should be sufficient to grasp the basics. Because they don't understand marginal tax rates. Because they don't understand how progressive tax systems work. I think when people say that, it's because they don't make as much take home as they think they should. OT in my experience is taxed way more, so you might make an extra $200. But only see $100 extra in the paycheck. So it feels like you lost money unless you work enough to make the $200. That's how I've known people to look at it. Anyway. The more I make, the more they take yeah. I mean, that's how it works, but it's all even percentage-wise unless you cross brackets. Yeah, I get tired of hearing that nonsense. Lol. Coworkers are idiots. It's graduated scale. If it pushes you into a higher bracket, you only pay that increased rate on the money earned over the previous bracket. In a Western country, this is theoretically possible and occurs frequently, but only with a relatively low income. If you rely on government subsidies with an income limit, losing out on them can mean a bigger loss than you gain by working. But that doesn't exist in the US. Simple answer: they are stupid. Nicer answer: they are bad at math and have no understanding of how progressive tax brackets work. Most people repeating this BS earn nowhere near enough to flirt with the next tax bracket, and even then it's only the money above that bracket that pays the higher rate. Because they're stupid. Yes. When you get above certain thresholds, more taxes are taken out. But you still keep the majority. Because they're stupid and don't understand how money works. 'Cause they don't understand math. They don't understand how tax brackets work.